This is Haley Hopper, and I'm conducting an oral history interview with
Joseph Starling.
Okay. The interview is being conducted at Hopper Academy in Sanford, Florida on Saturday, October 15th, 2022. Joseph, thank you for speaking with us today. So just tell me a little about yourself.
Well, born and raised here, actually a few blocks from here. We had a couple of homes, we lived in a couple of places. I was born on 6th Street, and we stayed there for a while, and then we moved over to 7th Street, and we stayed there for a while, and then we moved to 9th Street. And I spent middle school and high school at the 9th Street location address. Georgetown, a lot of memories, and predominantly most of them are good. I mean, I don't really have a lot of horror stories about anything. It was, I tell people all the time, I didn't know that it wasn't until I graduated from high school and started going to college that I just realized that, we were living below the property line, but everything was just fun. I mean, neighbors, my mother grew up in this community, so there was a lot of families that knew families, and it was just a peaceful, just upbringing. I mean, it was a very safe community. I can remember being able to leave the house and go up to maybe the corner store or go and play basketball, whatever. And I don't even remember us locking our doors. It was, some of the things that you hear now about home invasion and things like that. I mean, that was never. And if anything was taken from a home, I mean, there was a close enough community that within an hour we knew who had it, and they were bringing it back. Okay, so it was just a peaceful upbringing. Many of my friends, those that are still, with us, we're still friends today. It was just a really peaceful and really, I guess I could say, integrated community. Very respectful of people's property, and just very respectful upbringing. I mean, that was just the culture. It wasn't like, I'm talking about, myself as a second story. That was the culture. The culture was, reaching out and helping. I remember my mom sharing, resources and people sharing resources with us. My mom was a single parent. There was 4 of us, very hardworking. My mom never graduated high school. I think maybe her high school education was maybe 5th grade, and that was also common. And that's why when you see those educators on the wall, those people were like rock stars. I mean, they were people that went beyond. They broke the ceiling, so to speak. And many of them maybe only had these bachelor's degrees, but in this community, that was like, oh my God. But my mom was a migrant worker for many years, but very hardworking. Always at the house. I mean, once she was done working, she was home. I mean, I remember that. I never came in and she wasn't there. And I think looking back at it now, she made some sacrifices, just to be that consistent in providing a home for us. But even though our education was limited, I mean, at that time we had all the modern conveniences. I mean, whatever the only thing was, we had it there at the house. I remember her, and looking back at this now, it just shows the wisdom that she operated in. I remember at least once a month, she would walk us up to what we used to call the Sunny Boys Cafe on Sanford Avenue. That was our outback. That was our steak and ale. You know, that was her way of saying, you know, I can't do this all the time, but you guys need to experience eating out or being in an atmosphere that's away from home. And I remembered us, and we didn't have a car, so I remembered us as like little ducklings, you know, walking up to that cafe that had the plastic tablecloths. And my brothers and sisters, we would have to sit there manually and, you know, no talking and just hands off the table. I mean, that was part of the training process that on the level and the budget that she could afford. Now, we didn't have order lobsters. It was more of a burger and fry kind of deal. But it's just the mindset that she had to even do that. And I can remember when there was time for us to, she took us to buy like school clothes. We used to go downtown Sanford to what was called, and I remember being Jewish. It was like a department store for Sanford. Manuel Jacobson, you know that's Jewish. So. But it was considered to be a department store where they had the clothing that you could see from the outside. And I remember my mother we couldn't shop, we couldn't buy all of our clothing there, but she would let all of us buy one item out of that store. Just so we could experience someone coming up to us and asking us what we wanted and touring us around the store. And we got, you know, she wanted us to experience that. And I look back at that now and I said, man, that was something that she had that kind of forethought. But moving on, like I said, I graduated from Seminole High, and I attended Seminole at that time of the Seminole Community College. I received my AA degree from there. And from there, I attended the University of Central Florida. It was, Central Florida Tech at that particular time. But I went there, and right as I started, I think maybe in my second year, I got married, and so I had to, you know, take a break for a couple of years. But then I got, so what I did when I went back, I started going at night, and I got my first like official job right here in Sanford at City Hall. I worked in the utility department for several years, and from there, they opened up a computer center. And I was actually the first Afro-American computer programmer in the city of Sanford High. And I worked there for maybe 4 years. And then I got hired at some of the county public schools. And I was actually the first Afro-American program analyst there. And I worked with them for maybe 11 years, and then I got a job working for a little startup company called Oracle, and I did consulting work for them for 2 years, and from there I came back home because I did a lot of traveling, and I came back here and I got a job working for a company called United Space Alliance out of the Kennedy Space Center. I was in the division called Launch and Retrieve. I did a lot of just programming analyst work for them. And I did that for about 10 years. And then of course, that whole thing came to a halt because of the ending of the manned space program. And then I took a job with Orange County Public Schools. And I moved up the rank there. And I became the senior director of their data warehousing department. I did that for about 7 years, and then I got hired by the president right now, data architect for Fort County, and I did some consulting work on the side. So, but I'm saying all that to say that growing up, if you would have told me that I would be doing the things that I'm doing now, I would have seen don't see how that's possible because I didn't really have, most of my family did not graduate from high school. But I graduated from, I didn't graduate from the University of Central Florida, but I did graduate from Nova Southeast School. I graduated with my bachelor's and my MBA from there. So I'm really proud of it because I'm not really one to talk a lot about that type of thing, but I'm proud of it and sitting in this place and seeing, you know, all the history. And it really does something for me because it shows me that the work and the sacrifice that these people have made, it really afforded me the opportunity that I have now. And I'm grateful for that. Very grateful. I've worked in the continental U.S. I've worked outside of the U.S. I've worked with people from all over the world. I've experienced some awesome things in my work history, and just to look at all of this, it's very impactful. Single mom, but one thing I can say, she never talked about any, in our home we never talked about things like race or, she explained things to us. We weren't like living in a bubble, but in our household, that was not, the whole victim thing was not something that she never talked to us in those terms. She was more like, just do what you're supposed to do. That was her big thing. Do what you're supposed to do. And fortunate for me, she's still on the planet, and she's got an opportunity to see me become a father, a grandfather, and a great grandfather. She's got an opportunity to see that. And it's I think what you're doing is great. I think this is awesome. And it's something that sometimes it takes people from the outside to champion causes like this. I know we've got a lot of people within the Georgetown community that have stepped up to the plate and have joined in this effort. But I want to say, on behalf of a person that grew up here, I want to say thank you for championing this cause. And I know this is like our first, tour duty of doing this, but I'm hoping that this will continue, and I think that more people will participate. And it's important that this story gets told. I think it's very important. But I'm excited about the future. My thing is I want to definitely respect what has gone on and what has happened. But I want to be a part of ensuring that we don't stop, but we continue to go forward. Because I think one of the biggest things we have to realize is that our community, this community, will never be like it was before, simply because of geographic and people coming into this area. So it will never be, sweetheart, it will never be like it was. But we have to be open-minded, and we have to be collaborative with those that are coming into this community. And I still think that there's a way that we can preserve our heritage and do it in a prideful way, and still um, and still be a viable part of this community. I think that's a way to do it. I think it's wrong if we think it's going to be, that we try to keep it the way it was, because that's just not going to happen. And it's not just for our community, but all communities that were maybe 100 years ago were of a particular ethnic group. I mean, that's just the way the country was sort of divided, but it's just not that way anymore. So I'm of the mindset of how do we ensure that we don't forget the legacy, but at the same time, how do we blend and how do we be a part of just working with people in general? But I still think there's a way that we can still have a piece of economically, socially, there's still a way that we can add value to the pie. Because I think America is an experiment, right? It's supposed to be that, right? And so I always thought that, or I think that, in my mind, the correct way of looking at it is that it's evolving. It was meant for us to come to the point of where we are now. And I think your generation will help ensure that integration, that collaborative spirit will happen. Because I think looking back at some of the things that were divisive, your generation probably looks at that and be like, that doesn't make sense. And it didn't, but it's just, I think it's the progression of things. So that's what I have. That's pretty much what I have to say. Hopefully we can use some of that. Get some of it.
Thank you so much. That was so wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Is there any more thoughts that you'd like to share, or would you like to expand on anything?
Well, I think, and I was talking to, I guess, your director. Education was always key in our community. Mm-hmm. So the stereotype, and it's like anything, any small group of anybody can kind of shed a negative light on people in general, you know. But education was always key in our community. It was always key. Even though my mother only graduated, she never graduated, she only had 5th grade education. But my mom made sure, and this was expensive, she made sure we had a set of encyclopedias. She made sure of that. Now, she probably didn't have the savvy to really understand maybe everything that was in it, but she had enough understanding to know that that's something that should be in this household. I can remember her, saying, no, you have to look at certain things to learn. I can remember her buying books. So I just think that it's a misnomer when you look at communities like this community and to even think that education wasn't important. It was. I just think that, unfortunately, there were forces that were beyond our control that caused that limitation, that glass ceiling kind of thing to take place. Education was always a big thing. And so I just, I guess that's about it. I just wanted to make that point that this community was always avid or very proactive when it came to education in the schools and our churches. People that my mom would say, that's Mr. So-and-so, he went to college. That was the mindset. And it was great pride to my families and other families like my family to see my age group actually go off to college and actually, in their eyes, land those good jobs. Yeah. So I just wanted to just state that. That's pretty much it.
This is just one more quick question. I was just curious because I went to Seminole High School and I went to Seminole State.
Really?
And so I was wondering, how was it like during like, what year did you go?
Oh my God. I graduated from high school probably before your parents did, probably. I graduated from high school in 1977. And I did not take a lot of advanced courses. And see, that was the thing that Seminole Community College at the time was a godsend, because that was a place where I discovered that I could learn anything. I could learn anything. I remember it was that school played such a major role in where I am today. I received my AA degree here, but I took a class, just an elective, in what they call programming logic. I was like, someone said, oh, that'll be an easy elective. So I said, oh, easy, oh, I'm all over that. I took the class and I aced it. And I didn't even study that hard. I mean, I did most of my studying in the classroom. And the instructor, I'll never forget it, Mr. Will Deshman, who happened to be of the Caucasian persuasion, he noticed that. He was noticing that all the exams, I was finishing and just kind of hanging out like, I was thinking I thought everybody was doing it fast, or able to complete the test quickly. But he noticed that, and I'll never forget that he called me over after one class and said, are you planning on taking the next class? I said, not really. I'm just here to get my AA. I don't want any stress here. He said, you seem to have a knack for technology or programming at that time. And he said, will you do this? Will you take the next class? And at that time it was COBOL, which is old language. And I was like, COBOL? I was like, man, that sounds kind of hard. He said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to give you my personal telephone. And although I won't be the instructor for that class, he said, if you have any problems, he said, I don't care when it is, during the weekend, you call me and I'll help you. And so I said, okay. So I took the class, I aced it. And he got with me, he said, well, take the next class. And I took the next class. He said, well, why don't you take, you don't have a lot of math in your background. He said, why don't you take Algebra 1? And I took Algebra 1, I took Algebra 2, I took trigonometry, I took calculus. I mean, I was just really amazed at the fact that what I could learn. And I will say this, if there's one hallmark point that I can make or say is that, come on, I promise you, we'll be finishing up now. Okay? Okay. There were people along the way that weren't Afro-Americans, but they took an interest in me. And I know some people may get upset for me saying that like this, to be that transparent about it. But Mr. Will Dershman, wow. Here I am. I've been in the tech industry for over 30 years. I make a very, very good living. I live in a very nice community. I've worked all over the world. But it was this man that was of a Caucasian persuasion that took interest in me and saw potential and said, hey, you don't realize what you're able to do. And that he took interest in me enough. And that same man, I wound up, years later, he invited me to be a part of the board there at Seminole State, to be on the board, the IT curriculum board. And he asked me to serve on that board to help design courses for students, overall for students, but also for students that or maybe like I was when I got there, didn't realize that, they had that potential and wanted me to have some input on them designing their curriculum. So, man, that's a big, that's a big leap from the way I showed up there, because I was like, I don't have a clue. I just know I want to leave here with an associate degree. I have no idea what I was really going to do. And that school, even to this day, I think that's one of the great things about it. It provides that opportunity for students at prices that are very affordable. So it was a godsend for me.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go here. She's wanting to go out to where the pumpkins are. Okay? You ready to go see the pumpkins? Awesome.
Okay, so I have to say, Joseph, thank you again for sharing your time and speaking with us. This has been Haley Hawker at Hopper Academy on October 15th, 2022.